That's me. I'm guessing you're probably wondering how I ended up in this situation. Well, it all started during the whole of a dull, dark, and soundless day in the autumn of the year when the clouds hung oppressively low in the heavens. I had been riding along through unfamiliar countryside for many hours until the house finally came within grim view. The house was as rotten and gloomy as the tarn of decaying vegetation that lay before it, in which a reflection of the dwelling was displayed, with its inverted eye-like mirrors and long fissure, which I could not help but to look away from in repulsion. Something about this building and its Gothic elements sickened me, but I could not understand what it was exactly. It was here that I would be staying for a couple of weeks with my friend Roderick Usher, a companion of mine since boyhood, whom I had not seen for a multitude of years. He had recently reached out to me suggesting the contraction of a nervous agitation, an oppressive mental disorder, and expressed desire to see me. Other than his current state of being, I knew nearly nothing of his recent whereabouts and lifestyle. I entered the house, and Usher greeted me with a warming welcome, a feeling that opposed the ominous vibe of the facade of the house. He described in detail his condition, as he suffered from an acuteness of the senses. It was not this, however, that caused him this dreadful oppression, but rather the disease his sister Madeline was succumbing to.
That is my sister, good sir. She is suffering from a rare disease which doctors in this town do not know the cause. All we are aware of is that a fatal prognosis will ensure.
As the days went on, I began to notice a change in Usher's spirit. He seemed much more deteriorated than when I met him on the first night. I tried everything I could to revitalize his soul, but every activity we partook in, from playing musical instruments to board games, had little effect. One evening, I was informed that Madeline had passed away.
She's dead.
Usher requested that I aid in the burial of his late sister within their home, and I happily complied. The thought of Madeline elsewhere brought feelings of unease to Usher, due to the possibility of a grave robbery and simply being isolated from the last Usher of his own generation, besides himself. At his request, I assisted him in the preparations for entombment. The chamber in which we set the body was dark, damp, and inhibiting of any light. Her previously expressionless face had now revealed an eerie smile that shook my soul in a terrible way. The resemblance between the two bodies was uncanny, and having seen my facial expression, Usher replied,
We were born twins, which is why I feel such a remarkable connection to her.
It was after her burial that I could feel both a physical and emotional change in the behavior of my friend. His regular demeanor was completely neglected. All the occupations of his daily routine were disregarded. I began to notice that the occasional positivity in his tone disappeared, and on numerous occasions I discovered him staring off into nothing for hours at a time. One night, approximately a week after the burial of the sister, I felt at a sudden unease, and slumber was impossible due to the gloomy nature of the room and the raging tempest outside. I was pacing around my room when Usher entered, holding a lamp, and exclaimed in a schizophrenic manner,
And you have not seen it? You have not seen it? But stay, you shall.
He rushed to the windows and threw them open, and I could not help but to intervene in his crazed behavior.
You must not! These appearances which bewilder you are merely electrical phenomena, not uncommon. Here's one of your favorite romances. I will read, and you will listen, and so we will pass away this terrible night together.
The book which I frantically picked up was The Mad Tryst of Sir Lancelot Canning. I recalled it as one of Usher's favorites, but in truth, it was simply the first book that had caught my attention. And so I began to read. It was at the middle portion of the story when Eldored begins to make his way into the dwelling of the beast.
And now, pulling therewith sturdily, he so cracked and ripped and tore all asunder, that the noise of the dry and hollow-sounding wood alarmed and reverberated throughout the forest.
Just as I let out the last syllable of the sentence, my attention was drawn to an unknown section of the house, where unless my ears had deceived me, I clearly heard a noise that resembled the very crackling and ripping sound described in the book. Surely nothing, I continued on.
Elthered lifted up his mace and struck upon the head of the dragon, which fell before him, and gave up his musky breath, with a shriek so horrid and harsh, and withal so piercing, that Elthered had fain to close his ears with his hands against the dreadful noise of it. The like thereof was never before heard.
Again I paused, but this time I was certain that a noise identical to the very shrieking of the dragon resounded through the house. I placed my hand on the shoulder of my friend to maintain the calm, but a sudden shudder came over his entire body. A creepy smile wrapped around his face, and he proceeded to speak as if possessed by something otherworldly.
I dared not speak. We have put her living in the tomb. Said I not that my senses were acute? Madman! I tell you now that she stands without the door.
Suddenly, the huge window panels of which Usher pointed at flew off, and the door burst open to reveal the hideous figure of the Lady Madeline of Usher, standing in the chamber. Her robes were covered in blood, and her entire posture looked contorted in a demonic manner. Then, with a low-pitched howl, she lashed out at Roderick, struck him, and brought him down to the floorboards, a dead man. The entire foundation began to crumble, but I couldn't help but to stand there, petrified. There lay my dearest friend, my childhood brother, murdered by the personification of evil itself. The grim terror of which he had long anticipated had finally caught up to him, marking the end of the family line of descent and the fall of the House of Usher.